This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.
A very good afternoon and welcome to this Monday edition of the Blood Red podcast, brought to you from the offices of the Liverpool Echo in the heart of the city centre. Now, if you're going to win the Premier League title, you need to be consistent. And Liverpool found some consistency at last, but unfortunately, it's in the shape of 4 consecutive draws. We're going to discuss the fallout from the Reds' 1-1 draw with Burnley at Anfield at the weekend. And today I'm joined by Mark Jones. Mark, I've not seen you for a while, actually, apart from earlier in the office today. Did you have a nice Christmas?
Yeah, it's okay, yeah. It feels like a million years ago. What is it? It's January the
19th. I've worked out quickly. We've only got 12 days of January left, thank the Lord.
No, that can't be that. Is it still 12?
Still 12, I'm afraid.
It feels like we already have 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christmas, that was good. Yeah, that was all right. How was yours? Was yours all right?
It was all right, mate, yeah. Is this a new cardie?
No. It goes back a little bit, this one.
Goes back, yeah.
Got a bit of cat hair on it, actually.
It's got an interesting colour combletion on it.
You happy with that?
It's intrigued me,
okay.
That's for sure.
I'll take that to say you don't like it.
I never said that.
All right.
No, another man who knows his wool is Theo Squires. He's got a lovely jacket on today, actually. How you doing?
It's nice, isn't it? It's nice and warm.
Yeah.
It'll be too warm in here in 20 minutes' time. Need to get producer in to have the aircon back on.
If things get hot under the collar in here, you're in the biggest trouble, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I will be. But other than that, I'm all good. Had a nice weekend off, so I didn't actually see the delights of Liverpool toiling against Burnley. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, you probably didn't pick a bad one to miss there, I don't think. So with that in mind, I'll come to you.
It's not ideal to be on a podcast about it, though, I've got to say.
No.
If we wanted to analyse the match, you're not going to be entirely useful here, but
I'll just talk about jumpers and fashion stuff.
Yeah, should we do that?
Got a little spin-off podcast going there, yeah. I'll come up with a name with that by the time we get to the end of this show. So let's look at the game against Burnley then. So
okay, if we have to,
we must. Yes. I would just have a little bit of banter here because I have heard plenty of moans following what let's be honest is not a satisfactory result for Liverpool. But it wasn't exactly the worst performance ever, was it? Stats for geeks. I always say this: stats for geeks. But the XG of 2.96, which is basically
3.
Liverpool's highest.
Yeah.
It's basically 3.
Yeah.
Liverpool's highest of the season against Burnley's 0.4. But apparently that means nothing because that just ended up in a 1-1 draw. So is it same old for Liverpool, or were they just unlucky?
A bit both. I think you can. It feels like one of those things that happens in a season that Liverpool are having. You know, you can have these games there. For me, it was nowhere near as bad as some of the other performances we've seen, even sort of this calendar year. You think the Leeds game, and
I was going to say it's better than Leeds. Isn't
yeah,
it?
Well, nothing happened, did it? So, but even you go back a bit further, Sunderland at home. It was a draw, yes, but it was nowhere near as bad as those draws in terms of the performance. It was just one of those where on another day in another season, to be honest, in another kind of set of circumstances Liverpool are in. I think they ultimately win the game, and you can look back at a couple of big moments in it, big turning points, the penalties, an obvious one, but even after that, there were other chances, and when they don't take them, then they get punished, and it's whilst you can say that the performance did merit a win, really, like that shouldn't save them from criticism, I don't think, because ultimately you're drawing at home to one of, if not the perhaps worst team in the Premier League right now, really. If you look at the way that Wolves have improved in recent weeks, it's a disappointing result, and it is now all 3 promoted sides have left Anfield without losing this season, which
yeah, but there's a nice omen from that because the last time it was 1980-81. Then
when Rich would have been there, I'd imagine.
He would have been. Yeah, that year Liverpool won the European Cup, and they finished pretty poorly in the league, weren't they? Like 5th, 6th, something like that.
Yeah,
but they also won a domestic cup. So maybe there's going to be a treble at the end of this. A double at the end of this season.
Theo's been drinking on his days off.
He didn't watch the game, by the way.
Do you want to paint a picture of what I was doing in the second half instead? I was a lovely hot tub, and then I get Lizzie to look at the phone, and the notification comes up going, "It was equalised."
You didn't have the jumper on in the hot tub, did you?
No, I didn't.
No, good.
Yeah.
I did wonder where we were going there, but it sounds like your weekend was infinitely better than mine and Mark's. You kind of stole me thunder a little bit on that last point there, in terms of losing failing to win against the 3 promoted sides. You've rightly pointed to an omen, Theo, but it's not going to wash with supporters, is it? Surely there was a few boos, only
more than a few.
Well, more than a few. Well, full disclosure, I was down the steps by then, so
you're not booing.
I was not booing. No, I don't boo. Okay, but people.
You're already on the way to the pub.
Yeah. I air my grievances in the pub. I actually drove.
You walk out and you go booze, and you go to the pub.
I actually broke a habit and drove on Saturday.
After however many pints?
No, steady on.
Whoa.
They might have driven you to it.
A friend of mine used to say you need 6 pints to watch Liverpool under Roy Hodgson. I don't know if we're at those levels just yet, but it is a sobering watch, is the point I was trying to make. Point intended. How was he going to get out of this? You know, the fans aren't happy. The football doesn't look great. And by some amazement, Liverpool are still 4th in the Premier League because for all intents and purposes, they possibly don't deserve to be there.
No, they don't. I've said on this podcast last week that they're 4th, but that's only because everyone has been dropping points. Because if Chelsea or United had been winning, they'd have got it in the bag. They'd have been miles clear. And then this weekend, Liverpool drop points again. What happens? Chelsea win, United win, and now everyone's breathing down their necks. And the way they're playing at the moment, not taking those chances, you are wondering how long they can hold on to 4th, because it won't be long if they carry on drawing, not taking chances, that they're dropping down the table. And you look at the squad at the moment, Mohamed Salah comes back, maybe he can carry on the AFCON form. He scored a few goals there, he looked like he was more of himself. But then you're still looking at the Liverpool side, how do you get him into that 11 when you can get Florian Wirtz on singing, you've got the striker and Hugo Ekitike, getting it all working together. And if Arne Slot can't do that, you can't see it turning around, because the only other players they're waiting to come back now with the long-term absentees, and Alexander Isak. Not going to see Leone again this season, not going to see Bradley again this season. This is the hand he has been dealt, and while he's put together a 12-game unbeaten run, the football has not improved. They are creating chances a little bit more maybe in some games. Like, from what it sounds like, Burnley was a lot better than Leeds, Sunderland.
It definitely was.
A lot on goal, but they didn't take them. They were unlucky in some circumstances, but it was the same old Liverpool in terms of the confidence is not there. As soon as you get one goal past them, they fall apart a little bit. And it is hard to see Arne Slot turning it around now, because it's something that has been ongoing all season long, and the style of play isn't changing. He's not managing to get more out of the players, and they're shaken. This is going to be something that's going to carry on all season long. They struggle against the low block, they struggle against the set pieces, and he can come out after the games and say, this is why we didn't win, this is why we did this is why we did that. But that's not going to wash for supporters, because they need to see something on the pitch. And there have been glimpses at times, like the 0-0 draw at Arsenal, where you can see a little bit of promise there. And maybe they will get something in the Champions League, because you're against sides of a better quality that aren't going to do the low block. But Liverpool come into a season as Premier League champions, you expect more than, knockout football. You expect a little bit more there. And it's just hard to see him turning it around and fully getting the supporters on board. As you guys have said, it wasn't all of Anfield booing, and I think we're a long way off that being the case yet. But when the supporters start to turn, it is hard to reverse it.
Yeah, that's very true. We've seen this before. Thankfully, not on too many occasions, but managers that have ended up on the wrong side of the supporters. Once that starts to grow, it's difficult to wrestle it back. Domonic Szoboszlai had the chance to put Liverpool ahead before Florian Wirtz eventually did. Not the maddest thing he's done in the last 7 days on a pitch at Anfield, but nevertheless, a disappointing outcome. He's hit the bar, and is that a little bit of pressure, do you think?
On him?
Just on the current situation, or do you just think he's just the case he's got it wrong?
I think it's a bit of that. I think there was pressure on it. I found his performance odd, actually, all day. I think he was quite often kind of the player that was, they had situations where they were breaking quickly, and he was making odd decisions with passes sometimes, and he was, I don't know, I thought they started the game brilliantly. There was that chance early on where Kirkes gets in, and I thought he was going to shoot, but he's tried to square it to Jones, and you saw before the game that Slot was talking about. He was kind of really pressing on, wasn't he? That he thought they'd done a lot of good work on the training ground. They're aware about the whole low block thing, and he was trying to say, no, we've been working hard at it, and it felt like that early on. It felt like, oh, actually, this looks a bit different here, and they were getting in. It might just be the fact that Burnley aren't really very good, but they were getting in a lot, and it looked like there was opportunities. And Szoboszlai was key to that. I just felt he would often play a bit of an odd pass and make an odd decision, and yeah, when it came to the penalty, I mean, I don't think, obviously, we're not that far removed from the Inter Milan penalty, which was a lot of pressure on that, and he took that one very well. So I don't think there was a big surprise when everyone saw him taking it. And he's just, he's hit it a bit too hard, hasn't he, ultimately, and he smashed it against the bar. And how many times have you seen those just dip in or clip the bar and go in? So it didn't, to me, feel as though when that happened, I think given everything that's gone on and the stuff that Theo mentions there, I think it would have been understandable if once that happened, everyone would have groaned a bit and like, oh, here we go again. But it didn't really feel like that because I think they were getting in so much. And then Wirtz scores his goal, which was thoroughly deserved when it came. So you'd say that the most worrying thing is what came after it because they never kicked on from there. So I wouldn't say there's the pressure on the penalty. It did just feel like they were gonna score and they were gonna break because they were playing well. And that, as I say, that's what makes the result, I think, all the more demoralising, deflating, and why there's the feeling that there is amongst a lot of people, I think, is just, we've seen them play badly and draw. We've seen them play well at Arsenal and in a difficult situation with what felt like about 12 players that the manager could call upon, and they did it to get a good point. This draw just feels like another different one again, and it's probably the most deflating one of them.
We've seen them play badly and win as well, particularly at the start of the season. You touched on Milos Kerkez there at the start of the, nearly getting a goal or providing a goal early on for Curtis Jones. I've been critical of Kerkez. I thought that was probably his best performance.
Yeah, it was up there.
Or certainly up there in terms of an attacking sense for Liverpool. But the manager took him off.
Yeah.
Now
wasn't he on the booking though?
Well,
I thought he was when I'm looking into
it. I don't remember that, but looking at my monitor, I can see he was. So it's a good point. But the point I'm trying to make is he was affecting the game. We're finally getting some sort of width off him, and if anywhere Liverpool were being effective, it was actually getting round the back, which hasn't always been brilliant recently. But a triple sub. I'm not saying a triple sub always reeks of desperation, but it kind of implies it's time to send on the cavalry. I just don't, as big a fan as I am as Andy Robertson, I just don't see what he was going to do that was going to improve on what Kerkez had done already on the pitch, and I just find that a little bit baffling. What was your own take?
I think his slot substitutions have come in for a lot of screeching, haven't they? And you do often wonder, is there a plan behind them, or is there just an idea of fresh legs? I think one of the things Liverpool have done all season in not just decisions kind of on the pitch tactically, but also transfers and everything else. They always feel like they're preparing for something else that's a bit further down the line, and they've taken their eye off what's happening now. And what's happening now is they're in a scrap for a top 5 place, and you can't afford to be throwing away points against the likes of Burnley at home. I just wonder if he's thinking, well, on X minute we'll take him off because we need some fresh legs. Not necessarily the Kerkez situation, that the booking probably plays a part in that, but I think there's some other substitutions that are made pre-planned in mind almost, and whilst I always think with those sorts of things it looks great when everything's going well, doesn't it? And this goes back to, I think, one of the concerns that we're seeing with Slot almost week to week now is he's not really had this difficult situation before in his career. It's been a career which has been a rise through Dutch football and winning the league and winning the cup and getting to Liverpool and winning the Premier League. He's now in this really difficult situation in his career, and you can, I think it's fair to question what he's doing in terms of some on-pitch, some in-game decisions, and substitutions are a part of that. And he's got an amazing ability to make the squad seem really thin when there are clearly plays he doesn't trust, and he's not going to pick them in. There are every match at the minute there are 3 or 4 players on the bench. It might as well be us lot because you've got as good a chance of getting on as they have. You know, there's some players who are never going to get on, and it seems like he's determined to get out of this by utilising this the same small group of players, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's like, well, I need to rest Kirkes because I'm going to need him again, and and need to make sure Robertson's got some fitness into him, and it's just another sort of muddle at a time when it seems to be a lot of things muddled, doesn't there?
Yeah, I think he was the right man to be Liverpool manager, head coach last season, because after everything with Jurgen Klopp was built on emotion, you needed that cooler head, you needed that tactical insight and how to manage games. And it worked. They won the Premier League. But for the past 11, 12 months, the football has not been good enough. The one good performance in that whole period is the 5-1 against Tottenham. And there have been lots of mitigating circumstances there, injuries and everything else, what happens with Diogo Jota, all the new signings. But then you can say coming into this season that maybe that means he isn't the best fit for it because they need someone who is more of a Jurgen Klopp, someone who is more of a man manager, who can put their arm around the shoulder, especially after what happens with Jota, whereas you needed that cool head last year. And there's times like the press conference on Friday where he's throwing Calvin Ramsey under the bus. Fair enough, what he said wasn't wrong. Domonic Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones, Jeremy Frimpong, etc. All these players he considers are better options at right back, but you don't need to throw your player under the bus like that publicly. And he is very outspoken in press conferences. He says it as it is, and maybe sometimes that counts against him a little bit. You miss the Jurgen Klopp sound bites, the connection with the fan base. And I don't think Arne Slot's ever had that, to the extent that he could get sacked this week and a fan base wouldn't necessarily be sad to see a Premier League winning manager go. Whereas if Alonso was in charge, if Klopp was still in charge, they would have a lot more backing because they've got the connection with the fans, the natural connection with the fans. Whereas supporters sung Arne Slot's name from the beginning because Jurgen Klopp told them to. And then he wanted the talking to be done on the pitch to the extent that he didn't go and make a deliberate attempt to win them over with sound bites by doing fist pumps. And that was fair enough at the time. But when you're at this situation now where the football is doing the talking in a very different way because you're not winning games, they're not behind you. Like when Liverpool weren't great under Jurgen Klopp, he told the fans, stay until the final whistle. We can win a game up until that very last second. We decide when you go, you don't. And then the walk out is every week now, isn't it? 80 minutes, 75 minutes, or whatever. Fans already start getting ready to go because they know Liverpool aren't scoring here. This game is going to be another disappointing draw.
I'm sorry to interject then. By the way, that includes a lot of diehard fans who sit around me, who I'm seeing getting off earlier than I've ever seen get off before. It was pretty unprecedented.
So there's not that belief there, and there's not that natural connection between supporter and manager to the extent that they could go. Like they wouldn't. I don't think anyone would be that saddened if Slot went, and that's quite sad in itself. And going back to what Mark was saying there about them preparing for something that isn't necessarily in place now. When you look at the signings they made, do they really suit Arne Slot's style of play? Like 2 wing-backs that want to bomb forward, they'd have been perfect under Jurgen Klopp, but Slot wants one of them to tuck in as this third sort of centre-back. It almost feels like they'd suit an Alonso more, because then you've got 3 centre-backs, wing-backs, and then you've got the 2 strikers. You can put number 10 behind them. Liverpool don't have 2 fit strikers at the moment, but when Ekitike has been that good this season, how did you get him in the side when your record signings back fit? When you don't have a left wing alternative to Cody Gakpo? There's just so many pieces here that aren't quite fitting together. It's quite bizarre. So is it any wonder that it's not working on the pitch and that they're dropping down the league table?
Well, some of these are problems of Liverpool's own making,
exactly,
aren't they? I know neither of you were on the pod on Friday, but we sort of brought up the question of if we've accepted that this season is a season of transition, what is next season? Because you're going to have to buy. There's a lot of players there, as you pointed out, Mark, that are basically surplus to requirements. They are all going to have to be replaced, and then you need to strengthen the team from there in. So there's plenty of things to be concerned about. You've given some quite strong views there, I'd say, Theo. So I very much want to ask you this question.
Okay.
Is Slot currently playing risk-averse football to save himself from getting the sack?
I think potentially. Maybe it's not conscious, but it is more he saw how badly things were going November time when they got absolutely battered by PSV. It's like we need to make sure that's not the case again. But just how they're playing at the moment, it's not enough to keep him in the job. At the moment, you'd say winning the Champions League is what to be the only guarantee you can get, because they're not playing well. You need to see an improved style of football, and it's not there. The supporters aren't behind it, even if they're not booing. As we've said, they're getting off early. And you can be more conservative with whether it was Frimpong on the right or Domonic Szoboszlai on the right, trying to control possession more, but the supporters aren't buying into it. You're talking on the pitch by winning games and playing well, and at the moment Liverpool are doing neither. So questions will be asked at the end of the season. Maybe even sooner if they get knocked out of the Champions League early or they drift behind in the top 4 race. I expect he gets the season and then there's a review in the summer. But who knows what's going to happen within another month, 2 months, if things aren't improving. Because you had 12-game unbeaten run and it felt at times it was starting to turn a little bit. But it's still the same old story of Liverpool cannot break down a low block. Liverpool cannot create enough chances. The chances they do create, they don't score. And then they gift 1 or 2 chances. They go in the net and the confidence is shot. Players like Ibrahim Konate nearly scoring an own goal, stuff like this, just making schoolboy errors. It's just so many holes appearing all over the pitch.
I was very impressed that despite being in the hot tub with Lizzie, you knew...
we weren't the only ones in the hot tub, but I'm not sure if that makes it better or worse.
I think that possibly makes it. Did you put your keys on the bowl on the way in? Or?
Nothing like that. No. Nothing like that. Okay. Nice little uni reunion.
Well, I was just going to say I was impressed that you knew Kirkes had been booked, and I managed to miss that despite being at the game. So
I was 300 miles away, and I've still got a better on it.
What that says about our careers, I don't know. But there you go. It's hard. It's hard to like this Liverpool team at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Am I being harsh? I don't know.
No, you're not.
I don't feel any connection with... Maybe I don't really feel one with a manager, right? And he's replaced Jurgen Klopp. He's a completely different character. He's won the league. What more do you want? Yeah? And he could finish 4th in the Champions League. So in his first he could finish 4th in the Premier League, thus qualifying for the Champions League. So in his first 2 seasons, he'll have won the league title, the first one in front of fans for donkey's years.
Come on, you were old enough to remember the last one.
I was, yeah. Thank you.
You're getting it from all corners today. Joe Thomas in the office earlier about your age, wasn't he?
He tried to make out... he tried to take the mick out of me for something to do with school, and I pointed out... In 1996, and I pointed out that I left school by 1996. So getting it from all corners today. But if Slot qualifies for the Champions League, finished 4th, he can turn around and say, I've won you the league and I've got you back in the Champions League the following season.
I don't think that's enough.
What more do you want? That's what an argument will be. But regardless of whether I've got a connection with Arne Slot, right, who in many ways is a bit like Rafa Benitez in that he's a bit more of a straight character, as opposed to Klopp, who's running on the pitch and beating his chest and everything else. I just don't feel much of a connection with the players either. Now, some of those players, well, quite a lot of them are league title winners, so I should love them really, but I don't feel a connection with them. So, does that mean, is that on me, right, or is perhaps the players just don't have the connection with the manager, and that is the issue?
I mean, look, they got that point at Arsenal, and everyone was saying, "Look, it's still there. The fight's still there."
Yeah,
and a lot of these, you can ascribe a lot of things, can't you, to whatever suits you at the moment. I think, and you have that result, and you think, "Yeah, they're still playing for the manager. Look at them; they're putting their effort in." And then you see a result like Burnley, and we're talking about this, and look, you're not wrong. It is. I think it is tough to love this team because of the football you've seen them play. That is nowhere near as good as the football you've seen over the past few years. So, and the point about him moving into a safety first kind of style, I wouldn't necessarily say he's done that to save his job. I would say he's done that because they had to, because they were shipping 3 goals to Forest and 4 to PSV, and you can't. That isn't he would be gone if that was carrying on.
Yeah, something definitely had to change. In that respect.
That week is the week that you have when you get sacked, isn't it? And you then it's followed on by another poor result and another one. You look at other clubs. Yeah, I mean, you'd imagine Thomas Frank will be gone from Spurs very soon because look at what's happening there. The reaction to him in the stadium there on Saturday that's nowhere near what's happening at Liverpool. So, but it was very. I think it was on the cusp of getting there after PSV and Forest. I think they were just incredible, really. The fact that they were conceding those goals, those chances in those games. I think there is just a general. There's a feeling around the club, isn't there, that it's tricky, and it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't help by the fact that it takes you half an hour to get in these days, which is something else entirely. I know, but everyone just feels a bit like it's a bit just a struggle, and it's amazing, isn't it, what football can do? Because if they were playing better and everything was rosy, you've just got to look at less than a year ago, and what we say at this point last season, it wasn't guaranteed. It's around about the weekend of the Brentford away game, isn't it? I think it's not absolutely guaranteed they're going to win the league, but you think it's probably going to happen. And within a month, it was pretty much sewn up, wasn't it? After that really good February they had.
Been all downhill since.
Yeah, pretty much. So you do see these things change quickly. In terms of Slot, I think it's a situation that, as I say, I think he's found it very difficult, and I go back to it. I just don't think he's had the experience that other managers who have perhaps, I've said it before, but one of the less discussed things about Jurgen Klopp was early in his career he was battling relegation, and he knows what it's like to sort of dog through results, get wins when he needs it. It feels like Slot is kind of learning those things as he's going, and that ultimately is not what makes for good Liverpool seasons. It doesn't make for good Liverpool atmospheres, just how we all feel about the whole thing. The one thing he's got in his favour is it's a general struggle for a lot of teams in the league this season, and it's not really a league where anyone's playing particularly wonderful football or straight. Even Arsenal are probably going to win the league, but I mean, can you watch them? I can't really. They're not easy on the eye, and you look at
City losing the league.
Yeah, and you look at the sides around Liverpool now, and you include Villa in that. You obviously got beat at the weekend. Yeah. And then you've got, Chelsea and United got wins, but do you trust them? Not really. So I still think they've got enough in them to come top 4, top 5. Whether that's enough, I mean, if you flip it round and he was to come fourth in his first season and win the league in his second, we'd be in cartwheels, wouldn't we? But I think it's what Theo said. I think it's just do all you can to get 4th, 5th, see what you can do in the Champions League. There's the FA Cup as well, obviously, and then it's time for some conversations because he's only got a year left on his contract after this as well. So if you were him and if things were going well, you'd want that conversation, wouldn't you? You'd want to know about your future. You wouldn't want to think you're going into your final season. So conversations have to be had, and they're going to be tough ones, I'm sure, whatever happens. But I think for now, it is just a case of trying to knuckle down and get through the rest of the season, trying to grind out results, which is what makes, again, I go back to it, it's what makes Saturday so disappointing.
Well, no wins for any of the top 4 at the weekend.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And only 2 wins for any of the top 4 in the last 3 match days, which just shows you how much teams are sort of faltering at the moment.
Because every team's got good players, and you can get caught out by any team on the day. There's so much money in these Premier League teams now. They've all got internationals. They've all got. I mean, there's 2 players who play for Brazil in the Wolves midfield. They're bottom of the league. This. That's what it is, and
so I've made the Premier League so good that the quality is so poor.
Yeah, well, it is.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It's produced these games where these two really good sides will be going up against each other, and it will be a stalemate because they're matching each other, and there's good players on both sides. So it's
which is why the focus is now on set pieces.
Yeah.
You are in danger of taking me down a rabbit hole here, where I'm going to put on my rose-tinted glasses and tell you how great old football was. Which I'd love to do, by the way, but I'm not sure everyone wants to buy into that.
Maybe that's a new show we can set up during the week.
Rich's old football.
Old football was great. Yeah.
When they're knocked out of the Champions League and we don't have as much to talk about.
Brilliant. Saved the fortune. Got to go all these group stage matches now. God forbid if they have to play a playoff game as well. You know what I mean? To take on extra shifts here, I think. New podcasts, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that sort of slip-ups and the fact that the gaps appear to have been closed with a lot of these teams who are playing in a particular way. It seems that a lot of clubs have just looked and said, right, this is how the best teams played. We're just going to stop that now. And which appears to be what's happened. If Manchester City stop winning, they've lost 5, drawn 4. You know, there's a problem in how a lot of the top teams have been playing. Just final one on Slot. Do you think he's going to make it to the end of the season? Is he going to get the required backing? There's no movement in terms of transfers. He said in his presser the other day, everyone's aligned on it, which didn't tell you anything. As I said on the press on Friday, classic corporate business speak. That you're not really taking anything out of that. Has he got enough backing on and off the pitch to make it to the end of the season?
As it stands, yes, but it depends what happens. If he has a whole Anfield stadium calling for his head, difficult conversations will need to be had. If they find themselves dropping down the table, so it's a big points gap between them and fourth, and United and Chelsea are in form, having changed manager, and Liverpool is getting worse, then you ask those difficult questions. If they get knocked out in the Champions League, playoffs or round of 16 to someone you don't think they should get knocked out to, you have those conversations again. But if it can steady the ship to the extent that they're playing like they are at the moment, but a few more of these draws are turned into wins, get to Champions League quarterfinals, it should be enough to see out the season. But then you still have the conversation, you have the review at the end of the year, because it's not been the best year, 18 months in terms of the playing style, the performances on the pitch and results, that it's not been up to expectations. After winning the league, which exceeded expectations, you can't tell me that whenever he sat down with Michael Edwards, Rich Hughes, FSG, the aim would have been just get us top four and that's enough this year. Liverpool would have been aiming for more, so it depends on what they do in the Champions League there, and then you just got to see what happens. Like, the supporters aren't happy, the playing style is not there. They're probably not going to win a trophy. Granted, it's mercy of the FA Cup draw or the Champions League draw, but the way they're playing, you've got no confidence in winning either of those. It is shaping up to be a poor season for Liverpool. And when you've got a head coach with a year left on his contract, you've either got to back him by giving him an extension or go, you know what, we fancy a change. And at the moment, betting people would say it's probably going to be time for a change. You probably go and look for Xabi Alonso. Now he's the big talking name on the market, but things can change very, very quickly. Liverpool could put in a great performance against Marseille, 2-3-0, against a side that probably won't try a low block against them because they're a good quality opposition who need to win themselves, and everyone will be positive again, the same as they were after a 0-0 against Arsenal and a 1-0 against Inter Milan.
And that's the key point, isn't it? It's still in his hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He can still... It's not a given. Everything that you've just said there, which makes perfect sense, but it's not a given, is it? Because he can still shape things and try and motivate this side to go out there and not only to put a run of wins together, but actually get fans excited about going the game again and build a bit of a...
And there is a big curveball all of this in Mohamed Salah, because he's going to come back with a point to prove. And we saw last season where he thought it could be his last year at Liverpool, what he was like. He was an absolute terrier, wasn't he? No one could stop him. All those goals, all those assists. He's now potentially in that situation again, thinking it's the last 6 months of his Liverpool career. He's got a point to prove to his head coach, who had dropped him, to everyone who's written him off during the first half of the season. And AFCON, he had a good AFCON when he knew he never stood a chance of winning it, because that Egypt squad was nowhere near as good as Senegal, Morocco, Nigeria, and he still got them to fourth place. He could come back and really tear things up, or it could just be a mess like it was before he went away, where he's falling out with people. So that is the curveball, where if he's on the same page as Slot, it could turn things around. It could be nice and positive, or it could just be a very messy 3 months.
Well, I'd love to say he was on the same page as Slot, but thinking back to his interview at Ellen Road, tells me that he might not be on the same page as him. That is something we need to contend with. Is that water under the bridge, or you know?
Find out tomorrow. Find out on Wednesday.
We will find out, won't we? What are your own thoughts on Salah, Mark? Do you think he's going to come straight back in, and what do you think is the likelihood of him hitting the ground running on his return?
I think it's going to be difficult. I think we'll know more. Obviously, press conference on Tuesday. I can see him being on the bench maybe in Marseille, and then he perhaps comes on. You know, it's one of those situations, isn't it? You can have any scenario in the game. If they're 1-0 down, we'll get him on. If they're 1-0 up, you get him on, potentially on the break. So, you know, I think I'd be surprised if he's in the squad. I'd be surprised if he doesn't feature at some point of the Marseille game, and then you're into Bournemouth away, and I mean, I think the argument is you just run him and you see what you can get out of him, because what have we just been talking about? Saturday they struggled to take chances, and you've got third highest goal scorer in the club's history who's come back in. So
he loves playing Bournemouth as well.
Yeah, well, he loves playing most teams, doesn't he? But I think you'd get him in. In terms of the wider thing, I think Yeah, obviously, again, like Slot, he's got a year left on his contract after this season, but you'd be amazed if both of them saw that out, wouldn't you, at the moment? You'd be amazed if he was sitting there in the summer of 2027 and both of them are shaking hands and going off on their separate ways, I think. So, look, how many times has he saved Liverpool in the past? I was thinking on Saturday it'd be lovely if he was there, actually. I think, even if he was off the bench, it would have been, because there was a spell where, it looked like they were going to score at any moment, and
I'd say he scores the penalty, but he missed one in the third place.
Well, yeah. But they,
he didn't Panenka it.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have him there, just because you can rely on him to take these chances. So I think ultimately you have to put him back in. How he's going to go is a difficult one. He's quite often had seasons, hasn't he, where he's been good in the first half and not so good in the second. So maybe this time around it changes with what Theo says, with the idea that perhaps he's thinking it might be his last year, because we know everything that's gone on, and there's a bit of an uneasy. Clearly, there'll be an uneasy kind of relationship with him and the manager. We know what's gone on there, but I think you've got to get him back in the side when he's up and running. So I wouldn't do it straight away, but when he's perhaps one or two cameos off the bench, and then you get him in.
I feel like his story isn't finished with Liverpool. I think there's still something to come this season. Obviously, a lot of that may depend on how Liverpool set up, how they integrate him back into the side, and what they do to try and get the best out of him, which are all things that have been questioned, not just of him, but of other players around the pitch this season. So it's not going to be easy, but if he's got the will to do, to make that impact himself and show, hey, I'm still the main man here, then I think he could still offer something significant to Liverpool this season for sure. No doubt he was watching or keeping an eye on Liverpool's results whilst he was away on AFCON. If he was watching highlights, it's probably best he did that over a secure internet connection.
Nice.
Probably with NordVPN, by all accounts, who are the sponsor of the Blood Red podcast. And to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/bloodred. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Covered AFCON. You could just cancel it if you wanted. I'm sure he won't. The link is in the podcast episode description box below. There we go. That's Salah sorted. Another positive, right, before we just move on to Marseille, Florian Wirtz.
Yeah.
4 goals in his last 6 appearances, I think.
Yep.
And a few assists in there as well. I think he was supposed to be playing on the right side of the forward line. Basically, wasn't there. And to be honest, which sort of brings me back to another thing with Slot. I don't really want to talk about Slot now, but it does make me think. They don't really know who was on that right hand side, because at some points there didn't seem to be anyone there. It was just generally Frimpong coming up.
Yeah.
But I don't want to railroad what I'm trying to say here, which is Wirtz starting to look like the player Liverpool thought they were getting for £116 million. And surely he's going to be extremely key player going into this second half of the season for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think he's looked at it for a short while now.
It's the start of December.
Yeah. So you've been, Liverpool are on this glorious 12-match unbeaten run, and I would say he's been comfortably the best player of those 12 games. I think he's been central to a lot of things they do. He's got his goals now, which I think is making a lot more people sort of sit up and take notice. But he was playing well regardless of them. And I get it, you spend the money that you spend on him, you want more. You're expecting at least perhaps double the amount, more than that he would have scored by now. But he's lovely to watch, isn't he? He's just a good player. And the moment that in the second half when ends with Gakpo having the shot cleared off the line, that'd have been brilliant. The way he faced up about 3 or 4 of them and he was gone, wasn't he? And
yeah, whilst you were bubbling away on the hot tub, Theo.
Lovely bit of skill from Florian Wirtz, and it ended with Gakpo.
Was that the first half or the second half?
Second half.
I was not top at that point. In the first half, I was gone on a walk.
You've been... Oh, well, yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
Afterwards.
Clear the head. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm just describing it. Just describing it for Theo. Basically, it's lovely. Yeah, lovely little bit of play. Pulls it back. Gakpo's not done much wrong as he's put it on target. You think it's in, but it's cleared off the line. And I think that's another one of those moments that had it have gone in, you'd have definitely seen it, and it would have been seen. And everyone would have gone, "Whoa, that was good,"
And it lifted the cup.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and he was central in a lot of those things, wasn't he? He's a great player, but you just left wondering what would he be like if the team was purring and everyone was on form around him? Because I think you'd be talking about a really special player. Look, he might be another one that maybe we're here in a year's time and he's on 15 goals already, and he's looking at home in a new look again. Liverpool.
I thought you were selling him in a year's time. It's not going to get any better, and it's going to call it quits after 18 months.
No, he's the one. He's the shining light at the minute, isn't he? And you keep him in the side. And in terms of the position, I like seeing him coming from that left. It looks like he can create a little bit more damage from there. He looks like he opens up the pitch, and he's got what you want. And what they tried to do when they started the season is to get attacking players around him, players he can hit almost like 3 attackers ahead of him. That ended up unbalancing a lot of things, and it created a bit of a mess, didn't it? So a lot of that, I think, is Slot going back to sort of safety first has been, trying to undo some of those mistakes maybe that were made at the start of the season when things were a bit unbalanced. So, but whatever the issues, you find a place for him in the team at the moment. And what I like as well is he just looks that bit more robust than he did. Perhaps in those first few months, he's looking stronger, fitter. You can see it in him almost. He looks a lot fitter and leaner, and he's someone that whatever happens between now and the end of the season, he's going to have a big say in it, I think.
My issue with it is he's in basically a different position every game, isn't it?
Yeah.
So was he at the right this weekend? Game before he was the false 9, wasn't he, against Arsenal?
Yeah.
Then you've seen him on the left. You've seen him at number 10. It's like, what? He's got some rhythm. He's got some consistency. He's performing. But it's harder for him to get those relationships up with the players around him. Like we've seen Milos Kerkez find form, and a big part of that was because they had a few games together with that's ahead of him on the left wing. And while he's kept up the form, Kerkez is still changing it week after week, going, how can we get everyone in this side? And it's like, we still want something that gets the rhythm there. And it's probably going to change again, if not against Marseille, against Bournemouth, when you try and shoehorn Salah back into it. So it's just like, Slot's not making it up as he goes along, but there is no clear vision for how it's going to work moving forward. And if you've got to compensate for Salah not working as hard defensively, that's another complication to it all as well. Whereas I just want to see Wirtz freed up behind Ekitike, because when they've been free to link up, it's so good to watch. There's a few positive moments in these games, like we've seen the goals where it was against Wolves, where Ekitike runs down the left, plays it through to him, gets his first Premier League goal. The 2 against Barnsley, granted it's League One opposition, but the glimpses have been there. You just want to see it more across a consistent run. And while that is 90 minutes, they need a run of games in those positions. And just so you can see a fluid Liverpool attack, everyone knows where they are, what they're meant to be doing. That's going to make it so much easier to break down any defence in front of them, because they've got a bit of consistency there. And that's part of the reason why they won the league last year, because these were players that had been in those positions month after month, season after season. They knew their jobs inside out, even if it had come under Jurgen Klopp rather than Arne Slot. Whereas now it's starting from scratch, and it's so hard for him to get that consistency when it's something completely new each week.
Yeah, I can screw off my next question because you've just answered it comprehensively, to be honest with you. Excuse me. That is the whole crux of the matter, isn't it? We've spent £160 million on a star player and asked him to play as a utility player. He's playing all kinds of different positions. Just play him. Why can't we just play him as a number 10 behind the striker? That's what we've signed him for. That we saw glimpses on Saturday of a player who was probably the only one who was able to try and express themselves properly, and people enjoy watching it, and we need to see more of that. So I'm in full agreement with you. And another thing that slightly baffles me is that for a team that, as you said, Mark, only a small amount of players are trusted to play, yet it's never the same team, if you know what I mean. It's the same group of players, but quite often playing different roles.
Yeah, because he likes that about the players, doesn't he? And again, it feels like that's gone a bit too far. He almost likes the fact that Domonic Szoboszlai can play 5 different positions and will do in the same game. Yeah. And and it's like that's become a really valued, and it's the same with Wirtz as well. It's become a really valued thing. And I can see a world where that does work when everything's ticking and everything's working well. And if you think about it, it requires a lot from the player itself. Themselves, who has to constantly reevaluate where they are on the pitch, the relationships with different players. And I think you can do that when you're playing well and when you're winning. But when you're not, and when you're struggling, and everyone's looking around the pitch and not especially liking the look of each other because they're all up in arms about different things, I think that is tough, and it's it has been difficult for Wirtz, but I think he's done it well, and he's, you can just tell he's an excellent footballer, and as I say, my sort of thing with him is he just needs better. He needs better form around him. He needs better quality around him. He needs better than what they're showing. He more than anyone, I know. Ian Doyle wrote it in his piece that he more than anyone was let down by his teammates, because you saw it when Burnley scored. He was throwing his arms up in the air, almost to say like, "What's going on there?" They were in complete control of that game, and he was dictating it. And then all of a sudden it's 1-1, and everyone's looking around them, going, "Oh, here we go again." And he should feel let down by that. But he's whatever the way out of this is, I think it involves him quite heavily.
Players frustrated as well as supporters then. Let's move on to Marseille then. On Wednesday, they are 16th in the Champions League phase table. Liverpool are 9th, outside the top 8 on goal difference. So it's actually outside on goals for. But there's about 4 teams there on 12 teams. So all to play for.
All the teams above Liverpool, the ones they've beaten as well.
Real Madrid, Inter Milan. Yeah.
Where are the mighty PSV Eindhoven?
PSV Eindhoven.
Scrolling down.
They were a one-hit wonder. They are 21st on 7. Oh no, on 8 points.
Yeah.
Sorry, just above the mighty Karabakh.
We'll get them in the playoffs. Some blocks been playing each other.
When you were talking about the possibility of Liverpool going out the last 16 or the playoffs, that was exactly who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
We don't want to play them again.
They did have a spell, didn't they? It was like the mid-2000s where they used to come to Anfield a lot. So maybe
Liverpool beat them a lot back then.
They did, yeah.
That's one that's for Rich's podcast when they're out the Champions League.
We'll do that one.
Well, how football used to be.
How football used. I've been to PSV Eindhoven actually. I got the
any hot tubs?
No hot tubs. No, I got the coach, and it took a very long time. And I arrived about 7 o'clock in the morning. And for some reason, I thought, no problem here. I can get my head down on the coach when we arrive. All off, lads, straight away. So, what do you do in Eindhoven from?
We can only imagine.
You join the dots. For 12 hours.
That's a podcast, isn't it? 12 hours in Eindhoven.
Anyway, I saw the highlights back the next day.
Channel 5 documentary.
With Ross Kemp. Does Arne Slot stick or twist in Marseille? Does he go for the win and try and cement Liverpool's place in this top 8? Or does he get a nice, safe 5th consecutive draw and then hope he can beat Karabakh at home?
You've just discounted Barnsley in that, the 5th consecutive draw. The mighty Barnsley were beaten in 2020. I
apologise. Okay. I was going to say in all comps. No, can't say that, can I? All right. The Champions League plus the league.
Yeah.
Should he stick or twist?
He should twist. He could go for the victory. It's still so open, and you want to be in the top 8 in the Champions League. And I think it should be a more open game. Marseille have got quality. They shouldn't just low block. They should try and attack. It's a tough place to go. Very good fan base. Very boisterous fan base, shall we say.
Yeah.
So it could be a game that suits Liverpool, but then it could also be one of those European aways we've seen so many times before, where they get spanked, they return home 2-0 down, 3-0 down. It could go either way. Hopefully it's one where Liverpool can find a bit of form. Like some of the best performances this season have been away in the Champions League. Like highlights, Inter Milan, Eintracht Frankfurt. You want it to be similar sort of one to those where you weren't expecting them to get either result, really. Certainly not to the extent of the emphatic victory in Frankfurt. Everyone expected Inter Milan to roll them over, so hopefully it can be a history repeat.
They did lose to Galatasaray though in a boisterous atmosphere, didn't they? So something to consider. What do you think, Mark? Would you want to? Well, I know what you want, but do you expect them to take the game to Marseille and try and get this done and dusted?
I think it's one of those. I think a draw would be fine because you're even in this season. You're surely saying they're going to beat Karabakh at home in the last game, and that would be 16.
I thought about PSV though.
Yeah, true, but that would be 16 points if they did that. You'd think 16's probably enough. It's hard to tell, isn't it? In this league phase, 16 you'd imagine would be enough. 7 they can't get 17, but 17 probably would be. So I think that it's one of those where you go there, you attack, and if you end up drawing the game, obviously in whatever circumstances, then it's probably not the end of the world. But I agree with what Theo said. I think it's going to be a game that actually, you're playing against. Would you say they're 16th, so they need to win.
What's their form like in France?
Just at a quick glance, they won at the weekend 5-2 in the league, and the game before that, I don't know who they were playing. If it was a very low league, but they won 9-0. So they've got 14 goals in the last 2
games. Fancy goals. No wonder they're boisterous.
Yeah.
They're not leaving.
And they've got, they've got attackers that are very familiar to Premier League audiences.
Yep.
So there's going to be, that factor. De Zerbi, the manager, and Liverpool's games against Brighton when he was manager were always interesting watches, weren't they? There was always a lot of good tactical.
Manager's getting linked with Liverpool job.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on.
Could do a Rafa Benitez audition.
So I think it'll be a good game. Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. And actually, I take the atmosphere point into account, and there's a world where that does get on top of them because they are looking a bit. They've looked a bit overawed by certain things. But I mean, I remember talking to you before Inter away, and we were expecting that, weren't we? Probably going to Inter away was perhaps the least confident I think I remember feeling about a Liverpool game for a long time. And then Arsenal probably this season as well. And they went to Inter and they rolled it out and they got a win with a very fortunate penalty. But you'd think they have had that in some bigger ways this season. They've gone there and they've gone to Arsenal and got that result. Go back to Newcastle at the start of the season. Those sorts of games where they've gone and got decent away wins. So I think it'd be a good game. And I think I can actually see a world where Liverpool actually win. And with a decent performance, because I think the whole occasion might bring it out of them.
Let's pick our teams then. We'll start with you, Theo. I'm sure we'll all agree Alisson's in goal, so we can take that as a given. Who are you playing at the back?
Back four probably has to stay unchanged, doesn't it? Kirke's coming off early means he's going to be a bit fresher, so you can start him again. And you don't really have any alternatives in the other three positions. You could go conservative with Joe Gomez at right back, but I'll stick with Frimpong there because he's actually in quite a bit of good form at the moment.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm more inclined to do the Gomez thing actually. I think you are going to need to drop him in at some point, and looking ahead to these matches, I think this is possibly the one to do it. And I'd have Frimpong I'd have Frimpong higher up, I think. So yeah, I'd go same as the weekend, but Gomez on the right instead of Frimpong, who I'm putting higher up on the right.
Fair enough. I'm with you, Theo. I'm going to just stick with the same back four personally. I'm looking for a bit of continuity. What about midfield then?
So obviously McAllister was left out, wasn't it, the weekend? Curtis Jones played, did okay, set up the goal. Got taken off, didn't he? I think. As did Gravenberg, which was interesting. So whether or not there's some, as we mentioned earlier,
has he dropped off a bit? Yeah, in a sentence.
Gravenberg, yeah, I think he has. Yeah, I think he's one that has almost. You look at him and you look at the form of the entire team. Really, they don't have the same confidence that they had last season. But I think you've got to pick him. You've got to start him. I'd probably go McAllister actually for this one. As much as I like Jones, I think you can bring McAllister back in, slightly fresher legs. He's another one who's been way off it this season, hasn't he? From what we've seen before and we'd expect. But I think it might be the type of game that suits him. So I'll go.
He was very good against Arsenal, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that's true. He was. Yeah, so I'll go with those two.
Same two, Gravenberg and McAllister.
Yeah, I had Jones in, but I really wanted to pick McAllister, and then I left him out. But you've convinced me otherwise. I mean, they all told me it was fine to change your mind during a podcast, so I have them. So I'll go with.
It's kind of annoying because if one of them was more suited to be that little bit deeper, you probably drop Gravenberg, but you want that taller profile in there.
Yeah.
Whereas it always seems to be Jones or McAllister. But then that's another issue entirely with Liverpool's midfield options, that they don't have a naturally defensive number 6, because this year they just go let Gravenberg attack at will, and that's probably part of the reason why the defence doesn't have the protection, because Jones has had to pick up the slack, and he's someone you want to see further forward because he actually wants to get in the box, get on the end of crosses and score goals and assist things.
This sounds like something we can discuss in another podcast in the near future, certainly, that midfield balance and what Liverpool are going to do about it. So I'm going to drop Jones to the bench as well and bring McAllister in purely because I think he just can rise to the occasion of that sort of
it's also that lazy European narrative of he suits a slightly slower paced game.
I think I've just conformed to that. What about up front then?
Ekitike has to start up front. Hopefully going back to France, he'll get a goal or two. I want to see Wirtz at number 10. I've already said that, so he can go there. Gakpo probably keeps his place on the left with Szoboszlai on the right for me. It's tempting to bring Salah back in, and I know Marmoush is in the City travelling squad for their Champions League game. I think they've confirmed that today. But he was on the bench for the third place playoff, whereas Salah started. So I think Liverpool might be a little bit more conservative with Salah. See if he trains tomorrow, and then you have him in the squad rather than starting him before the Premier League returns.
And what about you, Mark?
I'm all right with Wirtz off the left, so I'd have him there. I'd have Szoboszlai, and then I'd be starting Frimpong, and then Ekitike up front, because I just think one of the things that we've seen Liverpool lacking is options off the bench. And if you're starting Ekitike, is he going to do 90 minutes? Probably not. So
Salah's back to get off the bench.
Salah's back. You'd have Gakpo, Chiesa, as much as
30 seconds.
Stadium doesn't like him, but he's another option. Curtis Jones, Robertson. So there will be a stronger bench, is what I'm trying to say. So I think I'd have Frimpong starting on it, similar to Arsenal away, where he starts high on that right and he gives him something to worry about. And he played well there, didn't he? So I'd go with that.
Okay, although I want Wirtz in as a number 10, I haven't quite got this balance in midfield right. So I'm actually going to put Wirtz on the left still. Ekitike through the middle, and I'm actually going to bring Salah back in. Going to bring him straight back in, because although Liverpool are unbeaten in 12 matches, I do think they've been missing something in Salah's absence. What that is, it might be goals, I don't know, but what that is, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I want to see Salah's a personality. I just want to see personality in the side.
Is there an argument for it being a 4-4-2-ish with Salah through the middle with Ekitike?
Yeah, I want to see
Wirtz on the left, Szoboszlai on the right, because then you've got those hard-working midfielders. Like, they can cover the defence a little bit.
I want to see that.
I just for a second, I drifted into a bit of nostalgia at a 4-4-2 there. So who have you got with Ekitike? Sorry.
So if you have Salah down the middle, kind of like what they did with at Frankfurt, and you could have Wirtz on the left, Szoboszlai on the right. It's kind of like
3 from 3 in the middle. Yeah.
It might be something to think about for the future,
because you've got that. Salah will naturally drift to the right. Ekitike can drift to the left.
Yeah.
You've got Wirtz coming in.
Those are both
coming in,
and they'd give you protection to your fullbacks.
Yeah.
Ooh, well, food for thought. I don't see that happening personally, but who knows? Predictions then, Theo. What are you going with?
I've been in two minds all day. It could be a 2-0 Marseille. It could be a 2-0 Liverpool. So I'm going to go 1-0.
Are you going to actually watch this one? Or are you going to go?
Yeah, I will watch this one.
Okay. Are you going to have a sauna first? A few hot stones on your back, and
maybe afterwards if it doesn't go well.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll keep Lizzie on standby. Mark,
Liverpool going to win 2-1. There you go.
Positive.
Yes.
Positivity. We need more of that, don't we? And I think it's going to be 1-1. I'd like to say 2-1. I do think that's a possible result. Just want to see a bit more evidence of the team being allowed to attack. Because they've put good performances away from home. Arsenal is a classic example, but it still didn't yield
a shot on target.
It still didn't yield a win. So I'm not totally convinced. So I'll go with 1-1. But hopefully you're right. I think that pretty much brings us to the end of today's rather lengthy Blood Red podcast. Thanks for bearing with us. If you've stayed for the duration, thanks to Mark Jones. Thank you. Good to see you again.
And you?
And Theo.
Thank you. I'm off to the sauna now.
Off to the sauna now.
Should we all go post-match sauna, yeah?
I'm not all together.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I don't know who won Jump Awards there. I'd be very grateful if our viewers could put something in the comments.
I'm a bit sweaty now.
Who you think is wearing the better jumper. Obviously, I'm the coolest, but, that's a given. I've been your host, Richard Garnett. Enjoy the game against Marseille on Wednesday, and we'll see you soon.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.